I always thought there should be a guide for retail. Sometimes they'll give you a handbook when you first start working, but what if there was a handbook for all the stuff that's not in the handbook? You know, those little weird moments that pop up where it's like, what do I do with this? Well, luckily now there is. Presenting the Retail Show's official guide to retail. So let's just go ahead and dive into this here. And what better way to start than at the beginning, literally, with how you say hello to your fellow coworkers. So get ready, because school is in session. We're talking about unconventional hellos on this episode of The Retail Show. When I talk about hello, I'm not talking about your run-of-the-mill hellos and good mornings. Have you ever had a coworker that uses less conventional methods of hellos? So the first example I want to talk about is the early hello. So I had a coworker who would do this all the time. You'd be walking along and you'd see the person like 40 feet away. And when they see you, they start yelling hi and they start waving. Now, I'm talking about just me and them in a single long hallway, nobody else around, and you're going to start shouting hello from 40 feet away. I have 40 feet of awkwardness I have to pass through now until I get close enough to say hello. I'm already walking towards you in this long hallway. It's not like you're going to miss me or something. I'm heading that way. You don't need to shout at me from 40 feet away. So if we're going to call it, let's say no verbal hellos further than 12 feet away. But on the opposite side of that, though, you have the late hello. I'm sure you've been there. You're approaching someone, and it's like a game of chicken to see who's going to say hello first. You get so close to them, and nobody said hello yet, and then somebody panics and says hello at the last possible moment, literally as they're beside you, or sometimes even behind you. So it'll come out as this weird Doppler effect or something where you're not even sure you heard it. Why do we do that? Like, why is it so hard to say hello to someone? Then it's like, if you don't get that hello, then you wonder about it. It's like, do they not like me? Was it something I said? No, you're just an idiot who can't say hello. Here's a pro tip for managers. You have to say hello to everyone. I heard a story from another manager where someone called the ethics hotline on him because he didn't say hello to someone. It's bad enough with all the stuff you have to deal with, but now I have to walk around with a checklist with everyone's name on it to make sure I got everyone. Now we have the silent hello. This one's always a classic. Okay, so this is where someone says hello to you, but this is where you mouth the words hello back to them, and a sound may or may not be produced. This is a popular standby on days when you just don't feel like it. Now we have to talk about some nonverbal greetings, okay? Mainly handshakes. My most hated of all greetings. I was going to do a whole other video on handshakes, but for now I'm going to do a little bonus content here and throw in my top 3 worst handshakes I've ever experienced. And just so you know, my standard handshake is doing a moderate grip with 3 pumps. Okay, so the number 3 worst handshake was I had just transferred to this store, so I was going around meeting some department managers when I came upon the frozen foods manager. I think he was from Nigeria, but anyway, I went to shake his hand, and he holds out his mitten because he's the frozen foods manager, right? So he holds out his mitten, but he holds it out like he's royalty or something. Like, you know how a princess or the queen or whoever will hold out their hand and want the guy to kiss it? It was really weird. And I just stared at his hand for an awkward second that felt like an eternity. I didn't know what to do, so I just grabbed his completely limp hand and shook it for a couple seconds. So the number 2 worst handshake. So one of the things that I really hate about handshakes is when it's like a race to see who can squeeze each other's hand the fastest and the hardest. Like it's some male primate ritual where whoever has the strongest grip is the most manly. Anyway, I mainly hate it because I'm not ready for it. I will do my usual moderate grip with 3 pumps, but if they're racing to get the fastest grip, then I'm already swallowed up by their death grip. So at this point, my only recourse is to do a few meager pumps, which are futile. Gee, thanks. The number 2 worst is from a regional manager that did that super death grip thing to me when I wasn't ready for it. So then after it's over, he gives me this look like, are you even trying? Yes, I was. Okay, and now the number 1 worst handshake. And I'm sorry to say, but this handshake was entirely my fault. So I was doing my thing here when a manager comes up to me and he wanted to introduce me to the regional manager. So I don't seem to have much luck with these regional managers. Anyway, so the regional manager, he says hello and he extends his hand for a handshake. Well, I was in the middle of writing something and I still had my pen in my hand. So I see his extended hand out and I didn't want to leave him hanging. So I'm trying to get rid of my pen. So in my fumbling, it ends up in the hand that I go to shake with. So it looks something like this. So I ended up stabbing his hand and he even let out an audible ow and the pen falls on the floor. I could see that it even left a mark on him. He was nice enough and tried to play it off, but I felt like an idiot. I looked over at the other manager and he was doing this. Yeah, not one of my best moments. So usually I just prefer to do a fist bump instead of a handshake. And finally, the last greeting that we have to address are the greetings in the form of a question. What I mean are the greetings where you go, oh, how's it going? Or how you doing? Okay, you should not expect a response. It's more of a rhetorical question. So a perfect example of what I mean here is I had this weird moment with the store manager one time. So I'm walking by him and he goes like, hey, how you doing? And I'm in like autopilot, right? So I just return his greeting with like a, hey, what's up? And I just continue on my way. Well, he stops me. He goes, no. He's like, I asked you, how are you doing? And I'm just like sort of taken aback a little bit. I'm like, huh? Like, what? Like, I'm fine. So if you're one of these, hey, how are you doing greeting type persons, like don't expect a response here, okay? You're going to get one of these autopilot answers. All right, like I don't have 15 minutes to get into what's going on in my life right now, okay? So what kind of hellos have you experienced? Do you have coworkers that do unconventional hellos or maybe a weird handshake or anything? Leave a comment if so. And please consider subscribing to the channel if you like this content and if you want to see more. And thanks for watching. Well, we've gone through the whole video now and you may have been asking yourself, what kind of hello do I do? I do the Mrs. Doubtfire.